Welcome back. So glad to have you here for another dive. It's funny because when you think about meditation, it's not just about relaxing, right?
It's true.
You're on to something with this whole idea of the science behind it, especially these transcendent states, like when your mind just feels like it's expanding, you know?
Absolutely.
And the study that you picked out to unpack this time, the biological dimensions of transcendent states, our randomized controlled trial. It's not every day we get to look at something this robust.
Yeah, this is groundbreaking research because we are looking at not just the psychology, but also like the physical, the biological shifts that are happening when we meditate.
It's not just meditation is good for you. This is next level.
Exactly.
So to help us unpack all of it, we have a real expert in the house, someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes this kind of research.
I love it.
And since you were so curious about the biological changes that meditation might trigger, let's start there. Can you kind of walk us through what did they actually do in this study? What are we even talking about here?
So in this study, they had over 500 participants. There's a lot for this kind of research, going through a very specific type of meditation led by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
And so this wasn't just like your casual, go in the corner and just breathe.
Yeah.
It involved guided imagery, very structured process to really get people into those transcendent states.
Guided meditation. Over 500 people. All right. Okay, now I'm picturing it. But they didn't just have everyone meditate. They had a control group, right?
We always have to have that control group. And this one's very interesting because they had them reading and reflecting on the works of Rumi,
Okay.
that 13th century Persian poet.
So Rumi versus structured meditation, why is that control group so important?
So the control group is important because by comparing the meditators to the Rumi group, they can isolate the effects of the guided meditation. So both groups were engaging in, dedicated time and space for contemplation, which might lead to some positive changes. But the control group is helping us see were the benefits experienced by those meditators specific to that guided meditation technique, or was it just, taking time for themselves?
So it's isolating that meditation variable to really see what is its impact.
Exactly.
All right, so what kind of impact are we talking about? What did they find?
So let's start with some of the psychological findings. Our meditation group, they showed significant improvements in anxiety levels, PTSD symptoms, and even experienced a decrease in pain levels. And these results really line up with what we're seeing in more and more research on the benefits of meditation.
Okay, that's already pretty impressive, but I feel like those aren't the findings that blew your hair back.
You know me so well. While the psychological improvements are notable, it's the biological findings that get really fascinating. We start to see this profound impact meditation can have on a physiological level. And one of the key things they measured was SIgA, which stands for salivary immunoglobulin A.
SIgA. Don't lose me at SIgA. You got to make this relatable. What is SIgA and why should we care?
Of course, yeah. Think of SIgA as your body's own personal security team guarding against those pesky germs that are always trying to bring you down. It's found in your saliva and mucous membranes and acts as your frontline defense against pathogens.
So higher SIgA levels equals a stronger immune system, right?
Precisely.
Okay.
And here's where the meditation piece comes in. The study found that the group practicing guided meditation saw nearly a 50% increase in their SIgA levels.
A 50% increase. That's wild. Are you saying that doing this meditation could lead to fewer colds, fewer sick days? That's like a superpower for your immune system.
It's a significant finding that suggests a really powerful link between this type of meditation and improved immune function. And while more research is always needed, it certainly makes you think twice about the potential benefits.
For sure. But the study didn't stop at SIgA levels, did they? I remember reading something about brainwave patterns, too. This is like sci-fi stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's real. They used EEG, electroencephalography, to measure the brainwave activity in both groups.
All right, for those of us who are not neuroscientists, break down brainwaves. What are they? Why do they matter?
Absolutely. So essentially, brainwaves are these electrical signals that your brain is producing, and different patterns of brainwaves are associated with different mental states. So you've probably heard of beta waves,
Right.
often linked to that busy, active thinking.
Stress.
Stress.
It's just
Right.
like when your brain won't shut off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have delta waves, which are much slower, more rhythmic, and those are associated with those deep states of relaxation, even those feelings of oneness or transcendence that we were talking about earlier.
Okay, so we've got our busy brain beta waves, and then we're calm and connected delta waves. So where does our meditation group fit into all of this? Did their brainwave patterns change after meditating?
Well, this is what's so cool. This study found that after doing this guided meditation, the participants, they actually showed a decrease in those busy beta waves and an increase in those calmer delta waves. So their brain activity literally shifted
Wow.
to a more relaxed and a more connected state.
It's like the meditation was actually helping them regulate those brain waves, going from that, city that never sleeps beta to a more like in the flow delta state.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What about the Rumi group though? Did just reading and reflecting on poetry have any effect on their brainwave patterns?
Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I love this study. Even the control group, they experienced some positive changes.
Interesting.
They showed a decrease in beta wave activity, and they reported feeling like happier. It wasn't as pronounced as the meditation group, but it was still statistically significant.
So even just taking time for quiet reflection, engaging with something meaningful like poetry, can have a positive impact on like how our brain's actually working.
On our brain activity, our
Yeah.
mood for sure. Yeah, and it's what's interesting is that this study really highlighted the importance of having these reliable ways to measure these transcendent states, because we are just beginning to really scientifically explore these practices.
It's like we have this power within us to actually shift these internal states.
Yes.
And science is finally catching up to what a lot of these ancient traditions have known for a really long time.
Exactly.
But I want to come back to the study for a second.
Okay.
Because we've talked about these immediate effects, right? Reduced anxiety, better immunity, those calmer brain waves.
Yeah.
But what about the long game? Like if you were to incorporate this kind of meditation into your routine for a few weeks, would those benefits stick around?
Right.
Or would you go back to
All right.
baseline as soon as you stopped?
So that is the million-dollar question, and one that the researchers wanted to get at as well. So they actually followed up with a meditation group after 6 months
Okay.
to see if these changes were actually lasting.
6 months, that's a decent amount of time.
It is.
To see if it's really taken root. What'd they find?
So while not all of the benefits were measured at that 6-month mark, some of the key improvements did persist. So for example, the reduced PTSD symptoms, and fewer reports of those kind of like physical complaints like headaches or digestive issues, those remained.
So even though they didn't measure like the SIgA levels after 6 months, we
Right.
know that these other really important benefits, mental, physical well-being, those were maintained.
Yes, were maintained.
Which is that's still pretty remarkable.
It is remarkable, and it really suggests that incorporating practices like guided meditation can lead to these really lasting positive changes in how we manage our stress, how we regulate our emotions, and potentially even how our body physically responds to stress.
Okay, so it might not be like a cure-all, but it's pretty compelling evidence for how powerful meditation can be for making those positive shifts in our well-being. And they last, I imagine though this research probably also sparked a whole bunch of new questions too.
Yeah, like I'm already thinking, how does this specific type of guided meditation compare to like other styles? Would we see these same results with mindfulness meditation or transcendental meditation?
Exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, this one study can't give us all the answers, but it really highlights how much more there is to explore, right? Each meditation technique likely has its own kind of mechanisms and benefits, and what works best for one person might not work best for another. It's about finding that right fit.
It's like finding the right puzzle piece
Exactly.
for you, for your
Oh,
needs.
sure.
And while it's amazing to see that some of those benefits were still present after 6 months, can't help but wonder, what would a longer-term study show? Like imagine if we followed up after a year, 5 years of this kind of practice. Right, the possibilities, the potential for like truly transformative change when we really incorporate practices like this in our lives over the long haul. Think about if we could measure the impact of meditation on things like cellular aging or even gene expression.
Wow.
Like it could really revolutionize how we approach health and well-being.
It makes you realize how powerful our minds are and how much we still don't know about, like that mind-body connection.
100%.
Well, huge thanks to you for taking this deep dive with us today. This has been really, really eye-opening.
The pleasure was all mine. Always love chatting about this stuff with you, and I always learn something new.
And for you, dear listener, we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on the science behind these transcendent states that you are so curious about. As we've learned, meditation isn't just about relaxation. It's a powerful tool for shaping both our minds and our bodies, from boosting that immune system to creating a calmer, more connected state of being. So we'll leave you with this. What if you were to just experiment with incorporating even a few minutes of meditation into your own routine? How might that impact your well-being? Keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll catch you